new segment now for this week is talking about some trade ideas. Any GMs out there watching, of course, take these tips on board and execute if you want a chance to get to the Super Bowl. So without further ado, Jay, what trade would you recommend or would you like to see before the trade deadline passes?
Okay, so my first of two, I'm trying to be, I don't know if this is realistic, but I'm trying to be realistic. I think there's a closing down sale in Tennessee.
Yep.
My first one, I want to see King Henry traded to the Baltimore Ravens. Could you imagine the backfield of Lamar Jackson and King Henry? What are you going to do? How are you going to deal with this when you've got to still account for Mark Andrews, Zay
Was
Flowers?
that Raven, by the way? That was a Raven.
That was.
I thought it was a cat with a hairball.
What are you going to do? I mean, you have to load the box for King Henry, who's still, I mean, he showed in London, one hole, and he was gone for what could have been an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
If you have to account for him, you've got Mark Andrews, maybe a healthy Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers. You still got the others as well, Duvernay. I'd love to see it. So that's my first one.
That's rather frustrating because that was on my list as well. Henry for third and a fourth, and maybe Justice Hill thrown in there as well just to get him off the cap. But okay, so I'm going to go with the same team that the Titans, the Chiefs, to have a little trade with the Titans to get Hopkins. Hopkins for maybe MVS plus a third. Not a huge difference there in the salary cap hit element. I think Hopkins is on about 12 million this year. Valdez-Scantling is about 10 million, I believe. It is, 30 million over 3 years.
Yeah.
And Hopkins clearly is an elite player. Like you mentioned with the Eagles, someone you can throw it up to. Hopkins definitely qualifies in that category. But with Travis Kelce, with the speedsters of a Hardman, and having someone, a safe pair of hands, that's all we want for Mahomes, is a receiver that has a safe pair of hands. Tyreek Hill has one of the best, actually most underestimated hands, I think, in the league. He very rarely drops the ball, and he hardly ever did when he was at the Chiefs. And to have that go-to guy where whenever it's third down, he always wants to go to a Kelce. But if Kelce is doubled, then you go to Hopkins because he won't be doubled. And again, if it's in that radius within his vicinity, he will come down with a ball. And it's a relatively low tier trade, but I think that would make the Chiefs considerably better, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my first one of the two. Paul, what about you?
I'm going with, like I said earlier on, with Josh Allen. Please just don't, and Jay was pleading as well, don't waste his career, Buffalo. We want to see him. Like, you're robbing us of his best years. Saquon Barkley doesn't even have to leave the state. Go upstate to Buffalo. Giants are in the fire. Giants are, well, they won this week, but I don't really think they're going anywhere. If they do, by some miracle, make it to the playoffs, and they'll be one and done like that. Well, they beat the Vikings last year, but the Giants have got bigger problems, quarterback being the most important. They haven't paid well. They franchise tagged Saquon and then gave him a bit more just to sweeten, just to make it so he's paid a little bit more than the franchise tag. I think Buffalo could get him out of there for what are you saying? Second, possibly a third, because he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. Buffalo do need a running game, and Saquon's a running back. He's a receiver. He's still rapid when healthy. I think it would work well for both teams, because the Giants need to start again, and the Bills do need another weapon, especially in the running game. So I think it'll work out for both sides, and I think they could actually make this deal. This deal could be real. They could get him out of there. Saquon to the Bills.
Okay, cool. That'd be a good one. Jay, your second one.
So again, I'm picking on the Titans, and similar to you, Rob, I am saying get DeAndre Hopkins out of there. But where to? It's not the Chiefs for me. I would like to see a reuniting DeAndre Hopkins to the Cleveland Browns. My guy, Deshaun Watson, is struggling. He's injured again. Don't know when we're going to see him again. But when he does come back, let's get an old flame going. Because Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins during those Texans years, that was explosive. That was as great a quarterback-receiver tandem as we've seen. And the Browns have got the second highest cap space in the league. Go and get DeAndre Hopkins.
On that Browns one as well, Jay. So I read the report that he's got some slight tear or something in his shoulder. How bad has he been managed? He should not have been in that game. You could tell from them 2 picks that he threw. He had no power or velocity. And the injury with his shoulder, I know because I've had loads of issues with mine, it means that he can't put any pressure. You can't push through with your shoulder. Obviously, you're going to throw picks. He sees it, but the ball's not getting there at its normal time.
You're making it worse.
Yeah, all you're doing is making it worse. And hopefully he's shut down for a few weeks, because that team can go a long way. Right. So my second pick was the Hopkins one, but I guess it's also with the Chiefs. And this might be really stretching it now, but if they could get Jefferson, imagine if they. So it's looking unlikely that Chris Jones is going to stay with them next year based off of the money that he wants. I don't see them paying him. Would the Vikings accept Chris Jones and a trade for Jefferson, plus some picks? They've got nothing to play for this year. Do they want to pay? They should want to pay. It should be a no-brainer. But if they do, why haven't they already done it?
Flashback AJ Brown. Flashback AJ Brown. Vikings.
Yeah, exactly. I would say to the Chiefs, make it happen, make it work. But one other, which obviously try and not just have the Chiefs love here, would be. We mentioned about the Dolphins needing a different dimension about all the speed. Now, if they could somehow get OBJ, I think he would offer them a great option in terms of his route running. Good pair of hands, someone that can play out of the slot. He did it amazingly for the Rams in the Super Bowl for the first half. Before he got injured, he was eating them up alive inside. And no explosive plays. But the Dolphins don't need that. They need someone that can play inside, you can throw to, and I think he fits the bill amazingly. If he would have gone there instead of the Ravens, God, that offense would have been scary. Not that he made a bad decision. He's made a very good decision, and I don't see the Ravens letting him go. But yeah, that would be a fun trade to see, just to see how much better that Dolphins offense could be with him on side. Paul, what's your second trade?
You ready for this, Jay? You're going to love this. I've been thinking of you with this. What do you want? Which player do you want on your team more than
Clear. It is clear. Denver.
Give them a call.
No, I'm not going there. I'm not going with the corner. You
Okay.
should. That's a side note. But this past week, you were dotted up by Kirk Primetime Cousins. And I don't know how on earth you would make the salary cap work. But
We've got the highest cap space in the league.
right, call the Vikings. Get him out of there. Go and get Kirk Cousins before the salary cap truly hits with all these superstars that you have on the roster. If you just had the quarterback, if you just had, and I like Brock, don't get me wrong, I do like Brock, but, and I can't believe I'm saying this, that Kirk Cousins will take you to the promised land, but I think he's a level above Brock. He can get the ball where it needs to go. He can't move. That is a problem. But
does he need to? Does he need to in the 49ers?
Yeah. And these guys are all related somehow. You know, O'Connell and Shanahan just call up his old buddy and make some kind of deal and just get Cousins and win that Super Bowl while you have this roster. I'd love to see that.
Great shout.
I'm going to say, Paul, you might get your wish in the off season.
Yeah, in the off, I'm saying now. I'm saying at this trade deadline now. Go win the Super Bowl this year, not next year. You know, you don't know what's happening this year. Brock's shown you like he's really good, but when he needs the conditions to be perfect, you have a couple of people out. Can Cousins overcome it? Maybe not, but I think he's got more chance to overcome it than Brock.
Yeah,
agreed.
This roster is stacked, and the time is now. Go win. Go get your ring.